welcome to another great video from West Texas Bushcraft. If you can tell by the sound of my voice, I've been under the weather for the last few days, so I haven't really been posting anything on the blog, and I apologize for that. But today I come to you with all new kit. I figured that might be a good thing considering the last video was all about kits and the all-around kits. So this one is going to be off of the popularity of the Altoids Tins kits. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the Altoids survival kits, but they do serve their purpose, and I do have one that I keep made up and keep handy at all the time. So I figured I'd show you the contents of it and why I put what I did in there and what I think the Altoids kits are good for. So stay tuned, we'll tear it apart and let you have a look. Okay, so here is the great Altoids tin. What is in this little jewel, I wonder? Let's see. First off, before I show you, let me just tell you a couple of things about this. This is compact. That's its biggest plus. It's compact. You can stuff it in your pocket. You can toss it in any pocket in your pack. Heck, if you got a hat big enough, you can tuck it under your hat and you got it with you. So if you do get separated from your pack, you got this to get you through the next couple of days. So that's really all I have to say about Altoids Tins survival kits. So, but they do serve their purpose, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it that much. It's not my personal choice. Honestly, I would rather be able to carry something a little bit larger that I can put higher quality products in, or tools, and maybe a few extras that I just flat couldn't fit in here, because whenever I put this thing together, there was so many different things I wanted to stick in here that I used before that were really handy, and I could see them being perfect use in a survival situation, but they just simply won't fit in here. So I had to break it down to what am I going to need for 72 hours? And really I had to cut them. It was hard to do, but I like to be prepared for a little bit longer than 72 hours. So starting off, you'll see here I have this wrapped in electrical tape. I would say it's probably best to put duct tape around the edge, but duct tape, it's good. Once you peel it off, you got some cordage out of it, but man, it leaves a mess on your can. But I put it on here. I put this stuff on here just for this dramatic purpose here, because this is much cheaper than duct tape. It's easier to deal with, and it's still waterproof nonetheless. And all I'm going to do is peel it off and toss it aside. So duct tape's better. So opening the can, you can see this can has quite a few different things in here. First of all, I want to make sure that I've got water. There's the good old jar of iodine again. This also doubles as first aid, so going back to my preach of multi-purpose, put multi-purpose in here if you can. So iodine for first aid and water, which water is also covered by pretty much everything else that's in here as well. So in here, to keep everything from rattling around, I've taken one cotton ball and I've torn it down into several different pieces, stuffed all the little crevices with it. And that's, of course, great tinder. It doesn't have Vaseline in it because that would just make a mess in here, but it will spark up pretty easily. At least get you an ember so you can get a fire started, because fire is very important when it comes to procuring water and even food for that matter. So that's a good thing to keep the thing from making a bunch of racket. So in here I also have a little small fire kit. I have two different ways to make fire. Again, I don't like matches, because simply for the fact that, well, I've told you before in the last video, matches, you're only as good for however many matches you got versus number of fires, and that's if you have a perfect success rate every single time. So I have a little miniature Bic lighter. You can get a million lights out of these. So, but you never know. It may get wet, it may break. So in there, as a substitute, I put this little itty bitty fire steel. Yeah, that's small. It's pretty hard to hang on to. It'll do in a pinch. I would prefer to put a larger one in there, but it took up so much room. This will have to do, and I had to remind myself, well, I'm only out here 72 hours if this happens, most likely. So this will get me by. This will actually carry me for a long time, but it's a little cumbersome for my huge ape hands. So there's my fire. Of course, must have the knife. I put this knife in here. It was between this or the Leatherman Micro, but I went on ahead and just nixed the Micro because the Micro only has scissors and no pliers. I've used the Gerber one. It was a little crappy. I don't know if I really want to put it that way, but it wasn't of good a quality as what I thought. So I opted for this instead because this has two blades. It's just a little old, small old-timer style knife. It's got two blades, so I got my primary and a secondary. If I happen to dull one out and can't find a sandstone or forget to sharpen it or I break a blade, I got a backup blade. So a small knife is better than no knife. Again, if I had a bigger container for this, I would have put a little bit larger knife in there with some a little thicker blade, but that should do for 72 hours. Golf pencil. This is multi-purpose, and I have teamed this up with a piece of paper. Just a folded up blank sheet of paper. I can write a note. If I have to leave wherever I got stranded, I can leave a note and let somebody know, hey, I went this way or I went that way. So that way they can find you. This also works for tinder. This will even work for tinder as well. You can take your knife and you can shave off some little shavings on here and light that up if you're having trouble finding good dry tinder and you've already used up all your cotton ball, or you want to save your cotton ball, or you've used your cotton ball for first aid or something. This is backup. So we got paper, pencil, and if I just so happen to get lucky and get stranded somewhere, I have a little small fishing kit, so to speak. A little metal bobbin, just chock full. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just flat chock full of 20-pound test. Red, I like red because that way if I drop it on the ground, a big old wad of it, I can see it, I can find it. And then made up another blister pack of fish hooks, three different fish hooks, different sizes, and a sewing needle. Sewing needle is important. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Plus, in the fishing kit, I have these little lead sinkers. These are the style that you can pinch with your fingers. You pinch it to open it up like Pac-Man. You clamp it down, you slip your line in there, and then pinch it back too with your fingers. So they're reusable, and I have 4 of them. So there's food. There's our categories. So now, also as part of food, everybody always usually puts like 1 snare wire in here. That's fine if you get lucky. In order to make snares really truly work for you, you need to set out at least 5 or 6 of them, and it's going to take all night, yet again if you still get lucky, to catch something in there. So I was originally going to take out snare wire because, I mean, I got a knife. I mean, I can sharpen a stick, make a spear. I can make weapons with just a knife alone and my fishing line and some cordage. But I was like, well, I'd like to be able to hunt without effort if possible. So what I did is I took some bicycle brake cable. It's a twisted cable of steel. And so I can actually untwist this steel and I can pull out quite a few little wires and make a whole bunch of snares just out of this one little cable. Granted, if I catch something large, he might be able to bite through it, but if I catch something small, which which is probably the most likely scenario, then I can catch as many as up to what looks like probably about maybe 10 animals with this. So I got food covered if I need it. But also too, remembering it's 72 hours, this didn't take up any space in my tin really to speak of, so I wasn't really all that worried about adding this to it. So I figured, what the heck, it also give me some sort of entertainment putting together snares. Entertainment's important when you're in a survival situation. You got to keep your spirits up. So I got cordage. This, I'll show you this also in more detail in my next video about this specific cordage, but this here you can break down, and this goes hand in hand with a sewing needle. If I need to stitch up a wound, repair my clothes, if I happen to have my pack and it needs repair, I got the sewing needle here with my fish hooks that I can use this as thread, or I can use the fishing line as thread. So I got all kinds of multi-purpose stuff in here. But this cordage here, this is good for probably about 150 pounds, maybe a little bit more. It'll do. I'm not going to be able to drag a bear out of the woods with it, but it will definitely serve for me building some kind of shelter or repairing anything that I have, or repairing myself, or even making a little something out of it. It's about 30 feet or so, so it fit in here nicely. So now the tin itself. What do you do with the tin? I have all these contents here, but I have this tin. Well, this tin, as you can see, makes a great spotting mirror. So if you see an aircraft, you just rub the dirt off of that, and then you can shine that right in the pilot's eye, temporarily blind him, and he goes, oh, well, there's somebody right down there who needs help. Plus, this also will work as some sort of little water catchment container, maybe even a little frying pan or something like that. You're not going to use this for much, but it will serve its purpose while you're out there. So I mean, you'll have to boil water in this thing about 50 different times to get enough to drink, but that's all you need. I mean, if you're out there, you're dying of thirst, you're going to need to get your water. So that'll at least get you that. If you find food, you'll have to cook in here pretty much all night long, a bunch of little bitty pieces of animal, but you'll get fed. This will also serve for your rescue, so it has its purpose as well. So the main thing I wanted to say about the Altoid kit is it is small. It will pack down in my pocket. I can toss it in my pack. The thing I don't like about it is all this stuff is very small. This stuff is easy to lose, so that could be a problem in itself if I'm in a survival situation. Plus, I just flat can't fit a bandana in here, and bandanas serve so many purposes. Hopefully I got one in my pocket. If I don't, hopefully it's on my head. If it's not, well, it's definitely not in here, and I'd like to be able to pack an extra one if at all possible. But that's what you get when you start going as small as this. But it'll get you through. So that's the Altoids Tin kit. Well, at least that's my Altoids Tin kit. Whatever you can fit in the thing that you would find that can get you covered on food, shelter, and water especially, and shelter especially, all the better. Food, not really necessary, considering that the maximum amount of time that the thing's going to be really good for is about 72 hours. You're not going to starve to death in a 72-hour period. So I really wouldn't worry about that. Just make sure water and shelter is completely covered on that, and you should be good to go by the time rescue is there, or you can self-rescue. So until next time, get out there and get dirty.